What up, everybody? Y'all know this is y'all boy Telefo, and I'm back with another episode of So What's the Issue? And I want to start out by saying this because I'm going to get into this one kind of quick. You know, if this subject don't apply to you, it don't apply to you. But if it does apply to you, no. Let me say it in a better way. If this subject you feel like doesn't apply to you, probably need to listen anyway and see if you can pick up on anything that I'm trying to say. And one of the first things I probably should be talking about when it comes to like what y'all don't teach y'all kids, because in our community we have a hard time teaching our kids anything for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is. But first things first, I don't think you should become a parent if you're not emotionally ready to become a parent. And I know a lot of y'all that are not emotionally ready to be parents at all. We can't even teach our kids how to talk. We can't teach our kids that it's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to come to us and tell us what's on their mind. We tell our kids to bottle up their emotion. We tell our kids that boys ain't supposed to cry. We teach our kids so many wrong messages. By the time that they turn 18, they stranded out here emotionally. Like, I know a lot of y'all can feel me on this message, but if you can understand, also think about what happened when you were growing up and how you felt emotionally, how angry you were as a child and how misunderstanding to a lot of situations you were as a child. Because as people, for some reason, we don't even, take the time to talk to our kids. We won't talk to our kids. And right now, and I want to say it like this, a lot of the fathers are deadbeats. And it's crazy. So what's crazy for me, you can't really say too much about fathers because they're deadbeats. And that's such an asinine thing, because that's worse than not being present at all. But it's so many things that I can point out with females that they do wrong. And I am a man. And I get that it's going to come off as me being biased and beating up on women. But these are the things that I've seen. These are the things that I've grew up with. These are the things that I've seen people grow up with. A lot of y'all have kids at a point in time where y'all should not have kids, and then y'all turn around and bash and beat up on y'all kids. And then I know personally, for me, it felt like I grew up what's that first child syndrome. I felt like that was my thing. Like, I grew up and it was like I ruined the fun. I took away the fun from everybody. But why can't we teach our kids anything about money? Like, that's probably one of the first things I want to teach my kids is something about money. Like, I want to tell and show my kids that while they're growing up, like, all right, here goes allowance money. I've heard people say, why should I give my kids an allowance? What sense does that make? Because they do stuff they supposed to do. You go to work like you're supposed to, so you get paid like you're supposed to. That's how life works. You show your kids that they get paid for what they work for. Tell them, hey, if you get this on a progress report, you get this type of bonus to your little what's that? You get to your paycheck or whatever you want to call it. Like, you supposed to show your child that they get benefits out of working hard. You supposed to walk your kids through things, and we don't walk our kids through anything. Like, I'm gonna jump to another subject. How come so many kids around, especially right now with this generation up under me, like the 25 and down type of range, these kids don't even know how to go to a doctor's office. Like, I know I started out that way too, but when you go to a doctor's office, when your child turns about 15, 16, 17, you're supposed to give them the clipboard and let them learn. I don't care about how much time you lose by letting the child fill out the clipboard, but you tell them, hey, look down the clipboard. All right, I'm gonna show y'all how to fill this out for y'all first time. All right, go down. Have you ever heard, the first one is glaucoma? Have you ever heard anybody say that you got glaucoma? All right, you ain't got that, X. All right, go to the next one. Asthma. You said you've heard me say that you had asthma before, right? All right, put a check next to where you got asthma. We don't do that in our community. There is no forms. There is no teachings in our community. If somebody's been taught something by their parent, I really want to know what it was that was taught to them that prepared them for life, besides, oh, don't trust your friends because all friends ain't loyal. And maybe that is a good lesson, but what type of life lesson do you learn out of that, outside of some stuff that you're going to find out anyway, because we're ruled emotionally? So you're going to find that lesson out regardless. But as far as learning things, there is no lessons that I learned. I spent the last month with my brother trying to think of one thing that our father taught us. And I can't tell you one lesson that my father taught me on purpose. Like, that is bad. And then y'all actually ruin y'all kids by sit here and telling y'all kids, like, stay in a child's place. Like, stay in this. You're supposed to want to teach your child, all right, when we go to the grocery store, all right, so look, we can't get all that fancy stuff that y'all want because this is what the budget's looking like. All right, so look, what you're supposed to do when you start getting money is you're supposed to get stuff that lasts you the whole month. So grab you some things, lunch meat, grab you some this, grab you some that. Then you move into your extraordinaries, your actual meals that you're going to eat. All right, grab you some packs of chicken, grab you some green, like, and this is how it's all going to total out. There is none of that. And it's like, you're putting your kids in a position of where basically whenever they actually step out into real life, they know nothing. Like the first time I went to the grocery store, I said, I want pop. I misused the hell out of my first set of money whenever I went to the grocery store when I was out living by myself, because I was getting into the routine of doing these things by myself. I had to learn that I had to buy this. I needed to learn that I had to buy that. Like, it was so extra experimental. I did mess up a couple of times. I never really went hungry because, I did do my own thing, but whatever. But I misused a lot of my money, and I did spending money wrong because I did not know. And rent. Why are we keeping our kids out of the thought process and teaching them how to go pay rent, how to go downtown to go pay their LG&E, how to get on the phone and call in a water bill, we are so far removed from teaching our kids anything. And what's crazy is I'm probably going to lose y'all, but it's so bad. It is so bad that you can't or don't want to feel the need to teach your kids something because you don't feel like it's their place, because you're too lazy to do it. A lot of times, which people ain't going to speak on it, a lot of y'all are really too lazy to teach y'all kids any type of lessons as far as what they need and tools that they need going forward in the future. And then I always hear the cop out. That's what they teach us is for. Pause. Now, let me ask y'all something. How many classes in school outside of junior achievement told us about real life? How many? Because science class didn't help me with that. Math class didn't help me with that. Nobody ever taught me about what a credit score was. Nobody told me about why that was even important. I never even knew that it was important to have a credit score for buying houses, because it makes your mortgage cheaper if your credit score is better. You can get a better loan on different things if your credit score is better. I had no clue what a credit score was to begin with. And I'm going to tell y'all what's funny. I went to Central High School, and I had a teacher named Dr. Foster. And I don't know what brought the conversation, but she brought up Social Security numbers. She said, I know every single one of the people in my classroom knows what their Social Security number is. And I tell you, 90% of us looked around like, what the hell is a Social Security number? Like, we all looked around like, dog, we don't even know what that is. Like, to even tell you. And this is when we was 16, 17. This was probably when we was like 16 or 17. And at that point in time, we didn't know anything about a Social Security number. And what's crazy is that's probably one of the most important and most needed to be protected things that we got in our life. But we don't teach our kids anything about that. We don't even tell our kids, hey, so I'm going to teach you what this number is. Don't tell nobody what this number is, because it holds your life in the balance. It holds your entire life in the balance. Emotional is one of the biggest things that I can't stress. Telling your 9-year-old boy, you better shut the fuck up and stop crying. Nah, you better stop that crying before I come and hit you again. What does that do to your child? And I still see parents doing that to this day. And I get it. You don't want to hear all that crying. I get it that you punished your child for whatever reason you felt like was deemable a good reason, but telling them to bottle their emotions because you don't want to hear it is not good for your child. You're traumatizing your child. I've been traumatized. You've probably been traumatized. You probably don't understand how you've been traumatized. You probably don't understand that you've been traumatized, but you've been traumatized from hearing those words. We're so emotionally disconnected that I call myself an asshole. I've been called an asshole my entire life because I'm so emotionally detached to things that people are like, things that make people emotional, things that hurt people's feelings. I've been so far emotionally detached from those type of emotions. Like, oh, you lost this person, why aren't you crying? Because I seen 40% of my friends die the first year out of high school. The first 3 years out of high school, I seen 40% of my friends die. So death ain't a hard blow to me. And why is that? That's because of the neighborhoods that we grow up in. It's become so natural to where we're from, where people are just dying left and right. It's just like, hey, time to move on with it. And we never deal with that. I probably still have never dealt with my friends dying. From time to time when I'm laying in bed, I actually think about some of my friends that ain't here, and I still ain't mustered up a cry for them. And it's crazy because where we were raised to shut the hell up and stop crying. This is how we were raised. This is the lesson that you want to teach your kids. This is how you want to teach your kids to shut the fuck up and stop crying. Man, I tell you, y'all need to get that out of y'all vocabulary and actually hear y'all kids out. Do you know how many misunderstanding whoopings I got growing up? And then things that I don't even know. Now, let me give y'all an example of this. Misunderstanding whoopings. So I had a situation where my little brother, now, you know, it's always worse on the older child. It's always worse on the older child. But I digress. But I had a situation when I was younger. My younger brother was playing around and bumped me into that bush that sits next to people's houses in the apartments. You know, the one that sticks and hurts and shit like that. It's not a cactus, but it's that one with the straight leaves or whatever. I don't know what to call it. But my brother pushed me into that one day. And then, you know, me being a big brother, I was like, oh, he's laughing and shit, so I'm going to do the exact same thing to him. Now, when it happened to him, he started crying. He ran home. He told mama. Guess what mama did? Mama pulled out a broom because I just hurt her baby. And, you know, better time, better place, different conversation for how, whatever, you know, getting past that. But this is for this conversation. My mama pulled up out a broom and started hitting me. And then whenever I told her, but he did it first, she never even stopped to even try to acknowledge or listen to what happened. And then when I finally told her after she stopped hitting me, it didn't matter because she didn't do anything to my little brother. Now, I'm not begging and I'm not bitching about what she needed to do to my little brother in that moment. But what I am saying, what does that do to an older? What do you think that does to a child? Whenever they see that no matter what the situation is, they're always going to be in the wrong no matter what the next person has to say. No matter what you have to say, you are always going to be in the wrong because this is the way that we deem it. We need to get rid of that running the household with a dominant fist type of structure of house because it don't work. All you doing is making your child angry. So when they do grow up and they go kill somebody, when they do whatever in the future it is what it is that they do, like that's partially on you because you never even stop to help take your kids through why they're getting punished for what they're getting punished for. And then y'all so biased on why y'all punishing y'all kids that it don't matter. It really don't matter because especially, and I'm going to tell you this, if it's the older kid, y'all definitely go hard on them. And if it's a boy, and I can't speak too much on how girls get treated because I grew up in my household, my mother's household, only with boys. I do got 16 brothers and sisters, so I got 18 brothers and sisters. I'm sorry, y'all. So I do got sisters mixed in and out with her. But even with my father, it was like, it don't matter what the situation was. If the parent is angry, he don't have to listen to you. They don't have to listen to you. And why is that right? Why is that right that your child can't even come to an understanding on what the situation is? So guess what that does? It makes your child an angry child. And I ain't even one for psychologically, this made this happen, that made that happen. But this is true. This is true. You're making your child angry. And then I honestly, with the way that these kids is raised right now, from what I know is happening right now, I don't even know how these kids growing up being able to say I love you. Because most of the time growing up, I wasn't even able to say that to my mama. Like, me and my mama had such a strained relationship growing up that she wasn't allowed to touch me and I didn't want to touch her. Like, my mother, as time progressed, she actually asked me permission. Could she actually give me a hug? That's because me and her's relationship was so torn apart by the time I turned 18, it was ridiculous. Now, like I said, shout out to my mama, and I know she probably gonna feel a bit of type of way, and I'm sorry, but, I'm trying to, bring stuff to the light. Me and my mother have a great relationship now, and I love where we have our relationship now, and that's not copping the plea because I'm gonna stand on what I stand on, what I said. But at the same time, it's like we can't even teach our kids the emotional. Like, and then I hear y'all say stuff like this, and I know y'all pass these lessons down to y'all kids. Y'all say stuff like, why do I need a house? Well, nah, because everybody don't need to buy a house to be successful in life. Why not? Why tell your kids that they got to go pay rent for the rest of their life? Me, I bought my house. I ain't got to pay $1 in rent for the rest of my life. Right now, rent is $1,400, $1,500 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and people would I be saying that to is like, where you find that at? Because rent is crazy. I know people renting out apartments, studio apartments for $800 a month. Like, but y'all don't need to own y'all house. I pay $0 for the rest of my life. Do you know how much money that is saved for your kids for the rest of their life if you just teach them that, the basics of that? And then, the world ain't perfect. I do understand that the world ain't perfect. But start buying your house now. I don't care how expensive it is to buy a house. If you're going to be paying that rent regardless at the end of the day, you need to start buying your house right now. That way, if anything ever happens to you, your child always has something to go back to, no matter what their hiccups is in life. But see, y'all don't want to do that because that takes away from y'all partying. That takes away from y'all smoking. That takes away from y'all drinking. That takes away from impressing y'all friends with the other stuff that y'all want to impress y'all stuff with. That's another thing. Stop teaching y'all kids that they need top tier things. But this is the thing when I say that. Don't turn around whenever August comes around and tell y'all kids, oh, I can't afford nothing for you. You knew that the beginning of school was coming since the day that school let out, the year before. You knew how long ago when school was going to start back. And a lot of y'all smoke up y'all money, drink up y'all money. I see some people, they ain't even got a house, but they can afford drugs. And they got kids. I know people working $10 an hour jobs. I know people still relying on the government. People still doing all of these other things that ain't works. Stop telling y'all kids whenever they get older, y'all getting the hell out of my house. Stop that lesson because that's not a lesson that works. Look at how many of these kids is out here crying. I'm dying. How many kids is out here crying too? Like y'all mothers, y'all fathers, y'all whatever, fast forward a couple years later, y'all end up crying because y'all kids is getting shot dead in the street, but y'all never helped out y'all kids to begin with. Y'all never put in any work to help y'all kids to do anything in life, but yet y'all want to boo-hoo whenever something happens to y'all kids. And yes, every death is a tragedy, and I believe that. And I don't believe that you can prevent everything, but you can start doing something to better your children. You can start teaching them something to better them instead of just saying, oh, well, it's up to the teacher and it's up to them to learn how to, because I send them to school every day. The standard in our community needs to stop being, I got my kids to the age of 18 and they ain't dead. Why the hell is that a standard? Why the hell is that still the standard that y'all got y'all kids to the age of 18 and they ain't dead? Like, I know that was one of the biggest standards for my generation for sure. Like, what does that mean? I'm running out of time. I'm down to my last minute and I appreciate anybody that watched, but we need to change up and actually start teaching our kids something instead of telling our kids to stay out of grown folks' business. We need to start giving our kids an allowance and, showing them how to use an allowance. And hell, I'll say it like this. If your kids talk to school, factor that money into what they take, into their allowance too, and let them know, hey, to make it to school, you need to not spend a certain amount of money. So when you go out there and buy your candy, you go out there and do this, and that. Let them know, hey, You mess up with that money, you're going to be walking home. I mean, you're going to be walking to school. You're going to be walking. You're going to be doing something like other than using that target. So you're going to learn a real hard lesson. But, you know, I appreciate y'all for watching. And please don't go into this video with the thought process of like, hey, this ain't got nothing to do with me. We all can use improvements, even if I wasn't specifically talking about you. But I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank y'all for watching. I'll do another segment on this one day if y'all liked it. But, you know, this has been So What's the Issue? And I'm Solo Foe. Thank y'all.